Hello, girls, guys, or otherwise. This is Rich with your Witchy Book Club series, our 12th lesson in Modern Magic, the 12 Lessons of the High Magical Arts by Donald Michael Craig. There is a link down below if this is your first time to this part of the series. And yeah, there's a link down below for you to get your own copy if you haven't already gotten it. Uh, this has been a nice breather from the Christopher Penzak Temple series, uh, and it's nice that we switched to a book here and there, and yeah, I'm kind of enjoying it. But I do uh, request that, or I do ask people that if you have a local witchy shop or a local bookstore, do get your copies from them rather than getting them from Amazon. But if it is unable for you to do so, otherwise, there is that Amazon link. Anyway, yeah, this has been nice. Switching to a different book, a different author, a different magical system theory, whatnot. And yeah, we're just going to go ahead and really get on into this. I want to tell y'all that I am going to be going down to Kansas next Saturday. I will be attending a wedding for a friend of mine who is getting married. So I'm going down to Wichita, Kansas for a little visit and whatnot. So I am going to pre-record Tuesdays, Thursdays, and the following Wednesday and Saturday's videos ahead of time. Hopefully I get them all done before I have to leave. I am recording this on Friday the 17th, and it's a little later than what I wanted to do, but I'm going to try to get these done ahead of time so that I don't have to worry about posting anything while I'm on the road and whatnot. So, yes, just bear with me. I did not have a lot of notes for this this lesson, this chapter that we are discussing today. Just not a lot of stuff really popped out to me. He talks about neuro-linguistic programming and coding, and that stuff really didn't really ring true for me as much as part of a discussion. It's mainly information based, nothing that I really had a large amount of input on. I did have more input whenever he talked about chaos magic, even though it is not something that I necessarily practice. I do like some of the questions that he posed, and I would like to answer them or pose them to the greater audience. However, before we go any further, let's go ahead and thank our patrons on Patreon. Thank you to Linda and Sophia for being patrons on Patreon. We are starting up this Christo-Pagan church, and they are vital patrons for this Christo-Pagan church that we are starting. If you would like to become a patron to support the Christo-Pagan church, you can hit up the link down below. If you want to get something tangible for your money and support me as an individual and this channel as an individual, not necessarily the Christo-Pagan church, you can hit up the eBay link down below. Do ask about discounts that I give. I do give discounts and whatnot, so you can always, ask for a lower price. This is not sponsored by Pepsi. Pepsi, want me to hawk your shit? Let me know. We'll talk. Anyway, if you don't have the funds to support this channel or support the Christo-Pagan Church, there's other ways that you can help do so. You can hit the subscriber link right there. You can hit that bell notification. You can hit the thumbs up or thumbs down button. Doesn't matter to me. It all appeases the algorithmic gods of YouTube. All hail the algorithmic gods of YouTube. You can hit up the comment section down below, and if it is safe for you to do so, you can share this on your social media platforms. Now, in our grandest of traditions, let's go ahead and get into lesson 12 by reading the first sentence of this lesson. Now, if you have older versions of this book, that only had 11 lessons. So this lesson 12 is kind of just like an extra little bit that he added into there. And I believe this was only a few years before he ended up dying. Um, R.I.P. To Donald Michael Craig. Anyway, he starts off. Modern magic has been an important part of my life. Um, yeah, it's a good way of saying goodbye. It kind of sets up this part of the chapter, this lesson in its entirety. I really like the way that he does his conclusion at the very end. It's very nice, very well thought out, and very nicely put in and of itself. Anyway, moving on from that, because this book itself is not laid out like most other books, where this one has individual parts. If I were to redo this series, I would do the individual parts, the first sentence in each one. One thing that I have a note on here is on page 403, the very bottom, and continuing on to page 404. I had always called that looking at things in a different light. Some people refer to that as making lemonade when given lemons, and NLPers or NLPers call it reframing. Now, I am a big proponent of this. Whenever you are one that follows the moon cycles and you have a specific spell that you need to do, like right now, because it is an important thing to do, I'm a big one of reframing the situation. For instance, using money as a good example, if you are doing a money spell and it is part of the waning moon, you then do a spell to rid yourself of debt. That leaves a void for money to flow in. If you are on the waxing, of course, you could say, hey, I'm going to do a spell to gain more money. Just a simple example on how you can use reframing of a situation in your magical practice. Very big proponent of that. And I know I've mentioned it before in other videos, but the more you practice it, the easier it gets. And I think this is a big game changer whenever it comes to your magical practice. Moving on page 405, he talks about people who are a through time person or an in time person. And without even doing the exercise, I am definitely a through time person. I am aware of the value of time. I'm very good at planning. I'm not so good at the execution of the plan, at all times, but I'm good at logistically planning things. You are precise at meeting deadlines. That one I'm not so great at. Once you plan something for the future, you can quickly lose interest in it. This does tend to happen, especially whenever I do crafts. I have about 14 different crafting projects that I have going that I lose interest in it. Usually when I get about halfway through, oddly enough, and it's very disconcerting. Yeah. May have little connection with the present and often ask what day it is. I do this. Problems in the past can bother you for a long time. Absolutely. You're great at remembering past events. Yes. Fairly good. I've had some PTSD issues where remembering things and having a long-term memory is not as good as it once was. Now my short-term faculties can sometimes be have issues whenever it comes to remembering things. But yeah, for the most part, depending on what it is and the situation surrounding it, I do fairly well with remembering past events. You're great at remembering birthdays, anniversaries, moon phases, etc. I used to be one that I was the one that would call everybody on their birthday, or I would be the one that would text everybody on their birthday, or send them a happy birthday message on Facebook or something of that nature. I was one of those people that would always religiously do that. And you're gonna hear an alarm go off here in just a second, and I do apologize for that, but we're gonna take care of that very quickly. It's my normal alarm, so I don't want to turn it off for me to start closing up at work. So you're going to hear that in a second. I do apologize for that, and we're going to go ahead and take care of that. But you're a you're a great researcher. I do enjoy a good research project. I'm currently doing one on the first sermon that I plan to give for the Christo-Pagan Church. And yeah, I'm really excited. I'm looking up statistics and stuff like that. Some of the data out there that um, that I want to discuss and approach in different ways and whatnot. So I'm not going to really give too much away on that, but I do like a good research project. You probably like oldies music. Absolutely. I grew up on, well, what I would consider oldies music from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. I absolutely love that music. It is something that I grew up listening to. It's just kind of feel good music that really, hits me right. I do like some newer music, some pop music and stuff like that. I used to be a very big country fan. I am still a big Johnny Cash fan whenever it comes to his music, and also his daughter, Roseanne Cash. I do love her music. Um, yeah. Anyway, you are punctual. If you're late, you know it, and you feel guilty. Absolutely. Um, let's see, it was last week. I was working the entire week, Monday through Friday. I was working the entire week to give my coworkers some vacation days. I was all alone and all that, and I ended up getting to work about 15, 20, sometimes 30 minutes ahead of time because I did not want to be late. I am consistently about 15 minutes early for work. And, I'm the one that I'll go in there early. I'll get everything done that needs to be done to open up the store and all that. And yeah, then my coworker comes down like 5 till and is like, okay, we're already good. Okay. So yeah, I am that person. You may often look at a watch or clock and check the time, and you probably know internal clock is can be very accurate. I do that quite often. I will just have the sense, oh, it feels like a 2 o'clock, and I'll look at a clock and it might be like 1:58. I'm like, that was close. I used to do this all the time to test it, and nowadays I've started wearing I started wearing a Fitbit, and then I eventually switched up to the Apple Watch, which may I say, happy Pride. I don't know if that's there. That might show up a little bit better. Yeah, I have the Pride flag on there. Anyway, happy Pride. I don't think I mentioned it, and it is June. Oh my gosh. Anyway, we're digressing here. You have little patience for people who delay you. Absolutely. I don't have patience for people who walk slow or don't plan things ahead or like, yeah, I'll get to it. No, it needs to be done now because you doing that means that I can do this. So everything kind of fits together like a puzzle, and it needs to happen in a certain order. Uh, for instance, today I went out to get my oil changed, and I needed an oil change because I'm driving down to Wichita, Kansas. I needed to get my oil changed, and I wanted to get my car washed because I'm going to a wedding. And even though I might need to get another car wash once I'm down there because of all the bugs and everything that I'll hit on the way, um, even though I might need another car wash, the car wash was right there. It was included in the price, all that stuff. But I also need to go grocery shopping. So I had to logistically plan, hey, get here, then go grocery shopping, then I can take this route to go home, and I planned all that out. The part with patience, people who delay me was the guy that was right in front of me. Did not move for like 20 minutes, or at least it felt like 20 minutes. I had been sitting there, and I watched all the other people go through. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So I switched lanes and went on, got my oil changed, all that stuff. But I have very little patience for people who move slowly. I cannot stand it. Anyway, perhaps the most important question in your life about anything is when. Uh, answers answers that involve the past or the future are far more interesting than those that involve the present. Absolutely. I am an ancestry buff, and a genealogy buff. I ask so many questions about the past, and most often one of the questions is when. Um, but I also ask so many questions about the future, and I am one that I will sit down and plan and plan and plan, even though some things fall by the wayside. I am a list maker. I'm all about that. Anyway, let's move on. Um, let me know in the comments down below. Are you a through time person or an in time person? Let me know in the comments down below. Y'all in time people that walk slowly, don't walk in front of me, please, ever. Anyway, the next thing that I had noted was on page 406 under the changing your timeline. He says, the advantage of knowing whether you are an in time or through time person is that it allows you to understand how you function in relation to time. And he also says this about other individuals. And I have a note here that this can place some problems, such as astrological signs do as well. Um, most people, like, or I don't even want to say most people anymore. There are people out there that will say, well, what's your sign? And everything, and I'll say Capricorn, and they'll be like, oh, that's total Capricorn thing, and blah, blah, blah. And that becomes a running thing with them. I have a friend that is into astrology, and she will be like, oh, that makes sense for you, you're a Capricorn. I'm like, maybe it's just because of this, I don't know, but I don't understand astrology enough, and I think that if we rely too much on the signs and symbols of the cosmos, and we put too much pressure on those. Not saying that they're not helpful or that they can't be a good thing to study and whatnot, and see how their relation to our lives, see what that relation is. But let's not put too much stock in that we end up defining people as that because of their astrological sign, or in this case, their through time or in time personality. That is only one little facet of an entire being, and I think to put all that pressure on an individual, or put that much pressure on an individual astrological sign, is a lot of pressure to put on it. So I want to say, let's step back a little bit more from that and give people a little bit more benefit of the doubt. On page 411, he says, in religion, Wicca, in parentheses, Wicca, close parentheses, is religion necessary for magic, is basically the question here. Is a belief in gods and goddesses necessary for magic? Are all the complex robes and wands and rituals necessary for magic? If not, what is necessary? And I noted these questions because I think they are important for us to ask. Is religion necessary for magic? If we're talking just magic, absolutely not. I don't believe it is. Is a belief in, let's just say, deity necessary for magic? I don't think it necessarily is. Are all the complex robes, wands, rituals necessary for magic? I don't think it is. Because, and the reason I don't think these things are necessary to be able to perform magic is because we can perform magic without invoking religion or deities or any robes, wands, daggers, or anything like that. We don't need the things in order to perform magic. So, my answer to those are no, and I just gave you the reason why. We can do magic, and we have done magic as individuals without having any of these tools, or without having necessarily any of these concepts of deity in relation to what we are doing. This is a question that popped up for me, and these are questions that you can put in your Book of Shadows, maybe on a beliefs page, which I am a huge proponent of. Is on 412. It says, "Where does the power of magic originate?" And this is one I don't have an answer for. Um, I, is it that energy is a constant in down to the molecular structure, or is it something else? Is it something supernatural, or is it completely natural and scientific? um these are questions that I had rattling around in my brain thing, and I posed them to you to see what rattles around in your brain thing. um Continuing on to page 414, he's talking about chaos magic. With chaos magic, uh, everything is permitted. Getting results is central to magic. The methodology frequently involved achieving the Gnostic trance. The concept of gods, at best, is similar to that of the Jungian archetypes. Experimentation is encouraged. And I haven't really ever looked into chaos magic. Many of these concepts, these 5 bullet points that he has here with chaos magic, I do relate to. Um, everything is permitted. I put guardrails on my own personal practice, and I encourage you to find where those guardrails need to be for your individual practice. However, I have some for mine, and those work for me. Getting results is central to magic. Uh, yes, getting results uh, is an important part of magic to me. However, uh, I sometimes I enjoy more the journey to get to the planning stage of doing a ritual, or doing spell work, or whatnot, uh, thinking through what the process is. And sometimes, whenever I sit down and come up with a concept for a spell working, I end up not having to do the spell working because I've already worked through everything. And that's one thing that I want to say to people is sometimes just considering all your options and weighing them out and having them out, piece by piece, and what you would do if you need to do it. Sometimes having all that stuff set out is all the magic that you need to do. Um, you know, when we're talking, let's say, finance magic again, some money magic. Sitting down with a budget and seeing how much money you have going out versus how much money you have coming in, and how you can spend, or cut spending here or there, is more important than actually doing the spell work. Spell work doesn't hurt. It would only help. However, you still need to take the practical steps too, and those practical steps are very important steps to take. um, let's see, methodology frequently involved achieving the Gnostic trance. um, I, I only caught this in passing because I was listening to this while folding laundry, but I kind of understand the Gnostic trance and whatnot, not enough to speak intelligently on that. So I'm just going to continue on. The concept of gods, at best, is similar to that of the Jungian archetypes. I understand that, I just don't fully accept that. To me, deity needs to be tangible, or at very least, a hard, soft polytheist, or soft, hard polytheists? I'm a soft, hard polytheist. Um, and by that I mean I I am okay with the idea of archetypes. However, I need to have a a deific figure as a tangible symbol, or a tangible personification, I guess. I'm very much a hard polytheist, but I am also soft in that polytheism. So, if that makes sense. I have talked about this on the pagan perspective, so you can always check out that for more. That was a few years ago. Let's see, probably 2016, 2017, somewhere around there, I think. Experimentation is encouraged, absolutely. I like to experiment with the thought process, with the theory process, or the hypotheses that come forth, rather than the actual experimentation, the hands-on experimentation. I am more theoretical than I am hands-on. So whenever it comes to magic and magical working, I am very much theoretical, and I love that part. I live in that, and I absolutely find every little chance that I can get to go into the theoretical of, if I wanted this to happen, I could do this, and then that. That type of thing. Thinking through things like that is what feeds me. And sometimes, like I said, whenever you do the theoretical, you don't have to do the practical. So, anyway, that's what I've learned on that. Continuing on to page 416. Where will magic go tomorrow? How will we understand magic in the future? And I love these questions, because whenever I first started YouTube, 12 years ago now? Yeah, 12 years ago now. Christo-Paganism wasn't a huge thing. Christian witches weren't a huge thing. There was a huge controversy back then on being a Christian and a witch, or even the thought of Christo-Paganism and whatnot. And, it wasn't until we started to talk about this more and more, and certain people came out and they said, oh, this isn't that bad, and blah blah blah, and I understand that. And there were certain individuals that whenever they addressed the topic that of Christo-Paganism or Christian witchcraft, that they're like, okay, here's how I conceptualize this. And I think they did a huge service to the Christo-Pagan community. Off the top of my head, I know that Annie has done this whenever she was talking about being in a traditional Wiccan coven, and how, if I'm remembering correctly, that one of her coven mates had Christ as their god, but had a goddess figure as well, if I'm remembering correctly, and I could be mistaken. And I do encourage people to go watch. Oh, I do apologize for that. I don't know who's in South San Francisco calling me, but they can just not talk to me, because I don't know who they are. Anyway, yeah, I do encourage people to go and watch those videos that Annie has put out to find out whether or not I'm correct on this. And yeah, that's one thing that I have heard said from her, is that, you can do it, from that video in particular. Also, my personal correspondences with her. And also, Ember Honeyraven has made mention of it. Lady Gravedancer has made mention of it. So just in this 12-year span, where the question of where will magic go tomorrow, I think it's going to be more and more integrated uh, between belief systems, and I think that we're going to have a melding of belief systems, a mixing, if you will, and I think that's quite beautiful. Um, and how will we understand magic in the future? That one, I think, is going to end up being in the more scientific realms. I think that science will find out that many of the things that we have practiced as pagan or um, magical beings. I don't necessarily want to say everybody that does what's in this book is pagan, because that's not always the case. Um, but I think that science is going to come to a point where they look back on the ones that they said, oh, that's witchcraft, and you know, it's now scientifically proven, or um, it's being advanced, or it's advancing science, or it has its influence in science. I think that's going to be more and more of a thing in the future. And I would like to really be there for it. Whether it's just, you know, doing commentary here on YouTube about what scientific breakthroughs are happening, and how that was once a pagan belief, and one that would get you, you know, hung or burned or pressed, what have you. I would like to be one of those people there to report on this and to tell people, hey, this is something that people have been practicing for centuries, and science is now catching up to it. I think that would be fun. Um, Last two parts that I have here is on 422. They're both on 422. He says, however, each generation develops its own voice. And I thought this was important because here he's talking about what was this? This is where he's talking about how how we have different ways of either saying something or doing something, and how each generation is going to be different. My practice today is vastly different from my practice 12 years ago, but also my practice today is going to be, or our practice today in this generation is going to be, oh geez, I don't even know where he went. He's over here. It's going to be very different from Uncle Bucky. Uh, it's going to be very different than Scott Cunningham. It's going to be very different than the myriad of other authors out there from the past. Our practice today is going to be very different from Gerald Gardner. Doreen Valiente, all of them, Aleister Crowley, they're going to be different, and that's okay. And that's the reason that I wanted to highlight this particular sentence in here, is the variations that we have in the generation now and the generations to come, is they're all going to be vastly different, and that's okay. And finding ways that we can work and improve our own lives to get to our best selves, or our better embodiments, is important, no matter what we call it, or how we do it, or what tools we use, or how we pronounce athame. It doesn't matter, as long as if you get there. That's the important part. And the last one that I have is, I've come to realize that there is no conclusion to the study of magic. And this is absolutely true. I equated magic to science earlier, and I think this is along the same lines. We're never going to know everything about science. And, if you are a scientist, you have to accept that. Or if you're a scientific type of minded person, you're going to have to accept that. You will never know all of the answers, and it's okay. The thing that keeps us going, though, is continually trying to find the answers, continually advancing to our more knowledgeable selves, our best selves, the best version that we can be. Um, but that is all that I have for this Modern Magic by Donald Michael Craig, 12 Lessons in the High Magical Arts. Overall, I enjoyed this book. It gave me a lot of things that, even though I might not do everything in this book, some of the exercises are a little too involved, a little too ceremonial for me. If I read this back, if I read this from cover to cover back in, my early days of starting out, I would probably be more ceremonially minded. Um, but I'm okay with a little less ceremony. I love pomp and circumstance, more than the average person. Uh, I've done plenty of ceremonies and whatnot, especially in the military. I've done ceremonies um, for burials and, the honor guard and whatnot, burials and flag presentations and retirements and whatnot. And I am one that I love ceremony. I love pomp and circumstance and everything that goes along with it. However, whenever it comes to my magical practice, it's not really something that I do as much. And some of that's going to change whenever we do the Christo-Pagan Church, and there are rules and boundaries in what I do and don't do within that space with all of y'all. But for my personal practice, for my personal crafting, my personal witchcrafting, I don't do the high magical arts as much. Um, so some of this was a little more involved than what I would have than what I do now. However, there are some great questions that were posed by reading this material. There are concepts in here that I absolutely loved. And there are some ritual aspects in here that I absolutely am going to beg, borrow, and steal from. That I'm going to lift some of the wording from some of the ritual layouts and some of the parts of ritual, and I definitely will incorporate those into my practice and also into the church ceremonies. So yes, definitely glad that I read this book. Not glad that the dog, you know, kind of got hungry. But yeah, anyway, that is Modern Magic, the 12 Lessons in the High Magical Arts by Donald Michael Craig. Give me a second. On my bookshelf. Now completely for reference or rereading as need be. So anyway, let me know if you enjoyed this series. We are continuing on to the Shamanic Temple of Witchcraft by Christopher Penzak. We will be doing that on, hold here, the 2nd of July will be our first airing for that. So I will also have a link down below. Karen, why are you on the desk? Thank you. I will be putting a link down below. If you do not have your own copy yet, you can find it down there. And just like with anything, any of the links down there, if you can find it at a local bookstore or a local witchy shop, do support them before going on Amazon. But that Amazon link is there for you. So go ahead and get that book, and I'll see you back here in 2 weeks' time for the first chapter in the Shamanic Temple of Witchcraft by Christopher Penzak. Anyway, that's all that I have for today. Like I said, I will be doing the the Terror Talk and Table Talk and Witchy Wednesday and the first lesson in or first chapter in the Shamanic Temple Witchcraft. Hopefully, before I end up leaving, I should be leaving New Jersey Wednesday and driving down, just myself, because somebody has to stay home with little Karen. Say hi, Karen. She is purring right now. Yeah. Anyway, um, yeah. So somebody has to stay home with Karen, Jelly, and the dogs. So yeah, my partner's gonna stay here while I go to a wedding, and I will be probably visiting some family on the way back. So because it's been a while since I've popped in and seen some family, and hopefully it's a good family time. Because well, we're all very divided nowadays. Anyway, that's all that I have for today. Um, yeah, just wish me luck and whatnot, and I will see you on Tuesday for our Tarot Talk Tuesday. Until next time, may you have love, hugs, and ladybugs. Bye bye.